the Muslim Brotherhood have just announced that they're going to launch the United States political party for the 2016 election. Did you see the Muslim nation, Farrakhan? You know who Farrakhan is? How many of you know that Detroit's in a little bit of financial trouble? And how many of you know that Detroit has the largest Islamic population in America? And Arab money is purchasing huge amounts of it and creating a voting bloc. My son-in-law is a Detroit Lions guy, so I can tell him that all the time. With an eye towards the 2016 election, the Radical Muslim Brotherhood has built a framework for a political party in America which will turn Muslims into an Islamic voting bloc. The development bears careful monitoring in light of the U.S. Brotherhood's recently exposed goal to wage a civilization jihad against America that explicitly calls for infiltrating the U.S. political system and destroying it from within. This is a book I have up here called The Brotherhood by Eric Stakelbeck. If you can get anything by him, he's really good. CBN, you know who CBN is, Christian Broadcasting Network. He's a great journalist for them. Excellent book on the voice of Islam in America is CAIR, C-A-I-R, and they're thoroughly involved with the United States government today and part of the United States federal government today. Well, let's talk a little bit more. Where are we in your notes?
Rise of radical Islam.
Netanyahu says, the single greatest threat to the existence of Israel is nuclear weapons in the hands of the Islamic enemies. And as we're speaking, they're trying to convince Iran not to make their nuclear weapons. And Netanyahu said at the United Nations, you've got to distrust, dismantle, and verify those things. Israel has a zero-tolerance policy for nuclear-armed enemies. Why? Because Golda Meir set the policy. She said the Arabs can fight a war and lose and fight again. Israel can't. Israel can only fight a war and lose once. So they created a zero policy and preemptive strikes just in case, because they cannot afford to lose one time. In this year's budget, Israel budgeted $3 billion to destroy Iran's nuclear weapons. In the IDF, Israeli Defense Budget, last year and this year, $3 billion. I'm talking to you tonight about the rise of radical Islam. Israel's trying to stop it. It's growing. Remember when Netanyahu went there and he said, hey, they're already up to here. And yet what's been done? Virtually nothing has been done. In a civil war. They're on the sideline right now. B, the rise of Iran. Iran is a theocracy governed by Sharia law. I think I've mentioned this. This is an awesome book, A Time to Betray. It's our only CIA operative from the beginning of the revolution in 1979 that stayed in Iran and made it. Exposed much of their nuclear facilities. Reza Kahili is not really his name. I have seen one time a CIA picture of him and he had a mask on and he had everything on, but he is still sending out stuff. It's really an amazing story about what's going on in there. Number 2, Iran is the leader of Shia Islam. Now, why do we talk about Iran? Because Iran is the first country mentioned with Russia. And that's a priority. When Scripture lists some things and the first one in line, pay attention. Iran is the first one listed. Number 3, Iran is the world's biggest exporter of terrorism. I'm going to skip number 4 and come back to it in a minute. Number 5, Iran's nuclear program is big and hidden inside the mountains of Iran. They have a lot of sites. I've mentioned to you before about Qom. Qom has the largest hidden nuclear facilities, and I told you last week, Qom is where Shia Islam believes their Messiah is hidden away, believe it or not, the 12th from Muhammad, and he will emerge as their Messiah in the end times. Some of these slides came back from Reza Kahili. You can see the tunnel entrances of where Islam's facilities are built. You can see the size and scope of it, but you can't hardly see the size and scope on it because they're just all over the place. Six, Iran believes Allah has called them to destroy Israel. No wonder they're coming into Israel. Number 7, Israel's attempted to slow up Iran's nuclear program. I think we talked about this, but the Obama administration came right out and said to Netanyahu, you got to stop killing those nuclear scientists. They killed 5 of them. Why would America want to encourage Israel to stop killing the nuclear scientists who want to kill Israel, whose stated purpose is to kill Israel? They've had the Stuxnet virus that they put over there, remember that slowed up the facilities, and this Fordow nuclear facility blew up about a year or 2 ago. 40 dead, you hardly ever heard of that. But Reza Kahili sent back all the data and facts on it. Israel got between Iran's purchases and their equipment vendors. And some of it was chemicals, some of it was materials. Long story short, they created composition in the materials that were bad, they created chemicals that were bad, and somehow or another were capable of putting them down into the very, 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 very deepest part and bottom part, and it blew. As Iran purchased their supplies, they were actually, some of them were Israeli-owned sources. Wow. I'm going to play you a video, and we're going to take a break in a minute. I just want to say, but there's hope for the people. And you know, the people in Iran, folks, listen to this. The vast majority are only 30 years of age. They're great people. They are dying in their sins. It's really sad. And for a number of years, Nancy and I have supported this ministry called Iran Alive. I just want to tell you about it and show you a little video before we take a break. He's nicknamed the Billy Graham of Iran. Has a radio program and a TV program from Southern California that blasts live into Iran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is a girl that he's leading to the Lord.